Very nice to be here, and very nice to talk about the different theater systems that we have in our countries. And I will talk about Lithuanian theater system from the perspective of market economy. And I made my presentation, or at least try to make it as practical as possible. So I'm the last speaker today, so I think that all of you are tired already. And I will use the shift to market economy in Lithuanian performing arts meant more diversity and lack of reliable generalization. So in this report, I will use two scales or two perspectives. First, I will generalize, at least try to generalize, because it's quite difficult, because really, we have a lot of exemptions. But I will also give some examples which I hope will help you to grasp the creative potential of Lithuanians, but also you would able to see also limbo state of the system itself. So when we talk about Lithuanian performing arts, the first things are institutions that produce the productions, that create the performances. And these are three types of institutions. First of all, national and state theaters under the responsibility of the Ministry of Culture. Then the municipal theaters under the responsibility of municipalities. And then independent organizations. They are all established as various types of private, non-profit organizations. And it's important to note that the municipal and independent bodies were usually set up upon the initiative of individual performing artists, mostly directors, choreographers, sometimes actors, to carry out their creative activities. But this situation is also changing, we will see in a minute. So before the turn to capitalism, there were 15 theaters in Lithuania. During the first decade, all existing city theaters were established as well, and then 10 independent organizations, including the companies of Nekrošius and Oskaras Koršunovas. Then during the second decade, 13 more independent organizations came up. And then after the third decade, we have much more independent organizations. What is important to tell that the theaters administered by the Ministry of Culture, they have remained at the center of governmental regulations. And the municipal theaters, they depend, technically, they depend upon the regulation in municipalities. But many of those municipalities, they have much more important things than taking care about unprofitable performing arts. And the independent companies have developed on market terms, which but of course, they were able to compete for very small amount for public funding, but this amount is much smaller than, of course, is provided for national, state, and also municipal theaters. So the independent institutions, first of all, they gave stage artists such as Nekrošius, Koršunovas the opportunity to pursue their international careers. But they were also important for the development in of Lithuanian theater in other ways. First of all, for the development of untraditional and unconventional genres. For example, object theater that was mainly developed by two companies in Vilnius and Klaipėda. Klaipėda Youth Theater, they often surprise with their new productions, which are often co-productions with various foreign companies. And last year, I think they made the production with Ljubljana Puppet Theater. Also, contemporary dance is unimaginable without municipal theater aura, but also without the activities of independent companies in Vilnius and Klaipėda. And now we have come to the very intriguing part. We discussed yesterday about the commercial theater. So comedy is considered as a purely entertainment genre in Lithuania. So it's not art, it's entertainment. And comedy theater Domino is considered as commercial theater, and usually it's not included into official reports. However, I found out that in 2019, Domino had more performances, that means events, than both national drama theaters. And that year, only 16% of all Lithuanian performances were presented in more than 3 towns. So, and this premiere of Domino, called Psychos, was showed in 19 Lithuanian towns. So this company gets really important when we think about the achievements of the distribution, when we think about the salaries of actors, and when we think about what kind of theater can be seen by the audiences outside the bigger cities. Another development of independence is also the specific audiences that the artists in these their private small companies can focus on. A decade ago in Lithuania, performances for babies existed only in the head of choreographer Birutė Banevičiūtė, who was the first to create such performances in her independent dance theater Dansema. Later, she was invited to create for babies abroad and then in several Lithuanian state theaters. And today, every repertory theater in Lithuania was once the production for babies. And of course, other artists are invited who are also started to work in this field. Independent organizations, of course, they choose directions of activities that are less resource demanding, but the role of a manager becomes more important than the role of a creator. In recent years, an increasing number of organizations have been overtaken by managers, by performing arts managers, and of course it's because theater in the market economy starts with funding and public funding. So to speak about the funding in Lithuania, in those 3 types of institution, if we talk about public funding, first of all, we talk about operational funding, that is the funding that covers operational costs. and the operational costs in national and state theaters and also municipal theaters are covered by their founders. And the expenses are planned a year in advance on the basis of building maintenance costs, communal payments like electricity prices and so on, and also the amount of tenures that these companies have. And thus, the theaters are very dependent on traditional top-down planning. But independent organizations plan their costs, their operational costs independently, and they cover them either from earned income or by winning competitions for long-term subsidies. And these subsidies are provided by, I will talk about them later, but some subsidies also provide these, some municipalities also provide these subsidies. However, in the absence of funds, these independent companies, they don't operate at all. Okay, so creative activities are the funding for creative activities covers the costs of production and distribution activities mainly. And so one of the recent innovation in Lithuanian performing arts is a separate program for creative activities of national and state theaters. And it covers like quite a large range of activities, like productions, self-distribution in Lithuania, self-distribution abroad, distribution of other companies in the festivals organized by the theater that is receiving the funding, and also presentation of foreign productions in the theater that is receiving the funds. And these 13 theaters, they compete with each other for this funding. Then we have municipal theaters and independent companies that compete for the funding from Lithuanian Council for Culture, which distributes about 10% of state funding for the performing arts. So more or less the amounts that are given for 13 largest governmental theaters and the amount that is given for the other theaters is more or less the same. What means actually that the cost of production in these smaller theaters are 4 times smaller than in larger theaters. It's on average, and of course we can, like if we see the extremes, it's much wider. However, increased funding for national and state drama theaters allowed them to open up for foreign creators, their themes and artistic ideas. So we see here a picture of performance by Lukas Tvarkovsky in Vilnius, but also we had Christian Lupa, Arpad Schilling, Grzegorz Jerzyna, Agata Duda-Grasz, Michal Borciuch, Tomi Janezic, Robert Wilson, Peter Jalakas, and I think there are a lot of, there are some more that I haven't mentioned. Visiting directors, they bring different experiences and different working methods. So finally, the actors can work on a wider variety of creative projects. However, city theaters, they struggle to compete with independent organizations that are much more flexible. For example, Kaunas City Chamber Theatre committed to stage the winning project of their theater sketch competition. The winner was very interesting director of Lithuanian younger generation, Naubertas Jašinskas. But this city theater didn't win the funding for the production several times, and eventually they finally produced the production from its own income, which is quite modest. And independent organizations, it's managers who create the conditions for the creators. And the management in independent Klaipėda Youth Theatre has provided the conditions to work for Arbat Schilling, who had previously worked only within Lithuanian state theaters. And I think it's one of the rare productions of Schilling for independent company, I think, in his career. I mean, not in his own company. Also, it's interesting that co-production between the public and independent, like this governmental and independent sector, was the dream of new management, of new public management. And the director, Gintaras Varnas, has been particularly successful in linking those two sectors. He ensures funding for his production through his independent organization, Utopia, and thus he avoids bureaucratic constraints of state institutions. But at the same time, he has access to the resources that these big governmental theaters have at their disposal. For example, performers, specialists like decoration makers, and of course, infrastructure. Anyway, the production doesn't entail that the performances will reach their audiences. So I will talk also about the distribution, and first of all, distribution in own theaters stages. I think from this slide it's very clear that Lithuanian institutions have unequal opportunities to present their works in their own stages, because national and state theaters have their own halls, and many of them operate at least two stages, big and small. Small theaters, not all of them, but most of them, they have their own stages, and usually they are smaller, with one exception, I think. And it's very rare that independent organization has its own stage. And if it usually does, so then it's a small one. So, and in all the rest of cases, it uses external venues, and they rent venues either on a long-term basis or short-term, but it's always additional costs. So when we talk about the distribution in rented stages, so the touring makes all the institutions equal, because then all institutions use the external stages. And so these are three types of providers of the stages, or three different types of venues that we have in Lithuania. First of all, traditional theaters, about 20 in major towns, but they prioritize their own productions and rent out stages only in case they're vacant. Cultural centers, it's 200 of cultural centers in all Lithuania. They involved a wide range of amateur group, and also they have a lot of their own activities, and they have little interest in regular performances by external companies. So they invite or at least provide the stages for the traveling companies, but it's not their main interest. And there are a few independent venues, such as the Art Printing House in Vilnius, Culture Factory in Klaipėda, and a few other that operate as open infrastructure. But it's really clear that especially the main stages of theater, Vilnius and Kaunas, they really lack the venues. There is a need for more stages. So, as there are almost no organizations in Lithuania that focus on distribution of external companies for their audiences all year round. So production companies are waiting for offers from the festivals, which have their own budgets, and are negotiating to show the production companies' performances for a very limited duration of the festival. So if we speak about smaller towns, so we have like 1 week or 2 weeks of performing arts festival. They show productions, 1 or 2 productions every day, and then performing arts in this town are finished till the next year. Yet more active theaters, they organize tours on their own initiative, but although the special funding is available, they don't always manage to attract the audiences. So in Lithuania, there is a common understanding that the touring is unprofitable, with only a few independent organizations seriously engaged in touring. And let's talk about local touring quickly. Here I have data from 39 organizations. So it's half of the producers of and here you can see the number of performances in various areas in 2019. It's very difficult to talk about single Lithuanian market, but it's, I would rather say that there are a lot of different local markets. And we can see that Vilnius and Kaunas have a lot of quite high numbers of shows, but elsewhere in Lithuania they are much larger. And I want to single out the Panevėžys, which has 4 city theaters. It's a town that has 85,000 people. So very small town, but 4 theaters. Then it's Alytus that has only 1 city theater, and there is Vilkaviškis, which I will also try to mention in the future. So, and one detail that it's, for example, to compare these 2 provincial cities, Panevėžys and Alytus, I would say that the audience in Panevėžys is quite demanding, but they tend to pay for tickets as much as in bigger towns like Vilnius or Kaunas and Klaipėda, somewhere in between. Whereas, for example, in Alytus, they are not willing to pay much for theater tickets. And yeah, and if we quickly go to foreign touring, so we can see that actually of the governmental theaters, Lithuanian National Drama Theatre is the most seriously engaged in touring abroad, mostly with big names. And Koršunovas and Lupa traveled most in 2019. But in general, I have to say that the Koršunovas for a long time has been the most, like the biggest export name of Lithuanian theater. Contemporary dance groups, they travel much more than drama theaters. And of course, because there is no language barrier, but also they work a lot with foreign markets on a regular basis. And this is done by only few drama organizations. And also there are companies that also travel more compared to other organizations, those who are engaged into collaboration with foreign production companies. Let's see how much time I still have. Okay. I'm trying to go quickly. So what is also interesting that turn to market economy changed also relationship within theaters because creators who in general performing artists who were previously employed in the theaters became freelancers, especially the directors and directors, choreographers, that the leaders of productions, and also creative team members. For example, set costume designers, light designers, composers, dramaturgs, and etc. But with the performers, it's a different situation because there are still in this governmental theaters and municipal theaters, mostly performers are lifelong employed. And there are people who are who do work as freelancers. However, when the production for the new productions, one compete with the others. And it's sometimes like very tricky situation because sometimes the freelancer takes the position of the employed actor, but sometimes the employed actor takes a position of freelancer, and he doesn't he or she is not very much interested in the production. So it's quite a tricky situation in this field. So here we have an example of traveling director Eglė Švedkauskaitė, the recent her work in Šiauliai State Drama Theatre. We have also example. The video doesn't play, but anyway, we have an example of a costume designer who was traveling with the Lithuanian theater director to Berlin, Kiev, and Reykjavik last season. And we have here two actors in the lead roles in the most expensive premiere of 2022. At the State Youth Theatre, which has a large troupe of their own. And one of the actors on the left is Dainius Gavenonis, who worked a lot with Oskaras Koršunovas. And on the right, there is Donata Želvys from Klaipėda Youth Theatre, and he also worked with Arpad Schilling. Okay, and I hope I will have enough time to quickly talk about the consumption in Lithuanian performing arts in several Lithuanian towns. So in Kaunas, an example from Kaunas, a major premiere that has just been presented, Estonian's director Peters Jalaks' The Tempest. And I have to tell that Kaunas is the city where people tend to pay the most for the tickets of performing arts. So we have performance in a few weeks, and the prices are from 20 to 45 euros, and only few places left in the large audience, about 500 seats. The other example is from Vilnius, from Comedy Theater. So here we can see the tickets are from, also the performance is quite sooner, 1 week sooner, but the tickets are also quite expensive, from 32 to 40 euros. And for the moment, there are many places left, but from the pricing policy, I can guess that eventually it will be happy sold out, or maybe not sold out, but almost, but very profitable show. Then we have the situation in Panevėžys, which has, last year there was a premiere of a huge play about legendary director Juozas Miltinis, who worked in the theater there. And and it has also the orchestra, and it's a very large show. And we can see that the ticket prices are 35 euros, and the tickets are already sold out. And we have a situation in Alytus City Theater that shows the production Marite, Little Mary. It's an inscenization of a novel about Lithuanian post-war history. And we have totally different prices of 8 euros. And even when they come to Lithuanian National Theater in Vilnius, they sell this production for 15 euros. And the last example, the contemporary opera. This performance, Have a Good Day, has been performed more than 3 years, and it was showed also in New York and in many places in Europe. And this performance will be soon performed in Vilkaviškis, and it costs the ticket costs 20 euros. So the high ticket prices suggest that theater is perceived as an elite commodity in Lithuania. According to official theater statistics, which do not record the attendance of institutions such as comedy theater, theater is visited by only 50% of the country's population. And compared to Estonia, it's a very small number. However, according to the audience habits, I presumed that theater is visited once or twice per year only, rather than taking a part of Lithuanians' daily life. And here I want to sum up that Lithuanian theater today is more interesting and diverse than ever before. The great theaters that have been stagnating for decades started to evolve. The managers of performing arts got experienced. Yet performing arts productions so actively produced have difficulties to reach their potential audiences. The performing arts professionals are working under difficult conditions and still are waiting for market. Thank you.